It's the Tuesday episode of the Business Hour. Ladies and gentlemen, a lot happening in the Nigerian business landscape. Naira at 1,700 Naira. That is what the current foreign exchange market is. The Naira has gone down, declined to 1,700 per dollar in the parallel market. And this marks a depreciation of over 50 whopping percent. A lot of Nigerians are also complaining about the price of egg, now being sold at 6,000 Naira. It tells us the definition of food inflation in the market. Let's also look at what is happening regarding interest rate. We're seeing that the central bank, there's a particular survey regarding the fact that most Nigerians are not interested in further hike in the interest rate because it's making economic growth and business growth much more difficult for a lot of business persons. We're also going to be taking a look at capital inflow from BRICS nation. When I talk about the BRICS nation, we're talking about Brazil, Russia, India. We're also talking about China and South Africa. Capital inflow from those BRICS nations. We're going to be taking a look at some of those. A part of that, we're going to be having some conversations around that. Fuel subsidy is also one major issue on the front burner of today's conversation. What is really happening? The dark chapter of fuel subsidy. The NNPC chair came out and made a statement saying that 17 million naira was being made for every truck during the fuel subsidy payment. We're also going to be taking a look at what is happening regarding economic growth. These and many more are the conversations we're going to take a look at on this episode of the Business Hour. So don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back, relax, and we go right in to the heart of the conversation. What is happening with our foreign exchange market? We face troubled news from the foreign exchange market as the Naira continues to relentlessly descend. Naira has plummeted to 1,700 Naira per dollar in the parallel market, and this marks a depreciation of over 50% since January, when it was 907 Naira 11 kobo per dollar. I remember when it was around 900 Naira, a lot of Nigerians were crying and talking about the fact that, hey, we are back, we're definitely going to edge into 1,000. But right now, it's looking like we're edging into 2,000 because the Naira has gotten to 1,700 Naira level. A lot of factors driving the depreciation. It includes the dollar shortages. We're seeing dollar shortages. We're also experiencing inflation and reliance on the parallel market. Higher global oil price also is typically beneficial for the Naira. And these have not stabilized its value. We're seeing that the price of oil in the global market edged in at $81 per barrel. And that is away from our oil benchmark in the 2024 appropriation bill, like an inch away from our oil benchmark. And this is not even, despite that, is not having a positive impact in our foreign exchange market. Lots of conversation about the Dangote refinery, that is going to reduce the pressure on the Naira, but it looks like that is not happening. Lots of economists are also saying that it's a long-term thing. We shouldn't be short-sighted and have a short-term approach towards addressing the issues of the foreign exchange market. It's a long-term thing. But in the interim, Nigerians are suffering. We know it's a long-term conversation. But in the interim, Nigerians are suffering. Inflation is hitting glass ceilings. It's literally shattering glass ceilings. The widening gap between official and parallel markets reflects broader economic pressures. And the situation raises a lot of urgent questions for monetary policy and economic recovery. Let's move on to some other stories. Still, this time around on interest rates. In a recent survey by the Central Bank of Nigeria, it has really unveiled a pressing desire among our citizens. They call for lower interest rates. 71.4% of Nigerians want a reduction in interest rates due to inflationary pressures and inflation concerns. Only 12.5% of respondents support an increase in the rates. And remember that all of this is against the backdrop of the objective of the CBN, of the Monetary Policy Committee. The objective was to tame inflation, bring down inflation. And right now that we're seeing that inflation, even at that, we're seeing the numbers dropping. But you go to the market, what is happening? Reality is different. Inflation numbers, we saw it drop month on month from 34, a drop to 33, and then 32.15. But the prices are not dropping in the market. The reality is quite different. The statistics that is being given to us by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics is different from the reality in the marketplace. 16.1% of Nigerians prefer rates to remain unchanged. The key drivers of inflation include energy costs. You see what happened regarding the price of fuel. You're also seeing what is happening regarding the band A, band B, band C. Right now, as a matter of fact, one of the grids has collapsed, despite our band A, band B, band C. So there's an underlying problem. You don't cure skin diseases using makeup. You can't cure skin disease using makeup. It's just going to be for a while. You will go back and face the consequences of your skin disease. You need to address it from the bloodstream. But that's what we fail to do as regards inflation. That's what we fail to do as regards so many other macro issues regarding this country. The key drivers of inflation include energy costs. Transportation is also something that is affecting inflation. So you can address it from monetary policy. Hike the interest rates for the sole purpose of inflation coming down. But then you increase energy costs. You also increase transportation costs. You increase the price of fuel. Insecurity is still ravaging our farms. And you expect inflation to drop. It doesn't happen that way. You can't beat a baby and not expect the baby to cry. You should expect some tears. And that's what is happening to the Nigerian economy. The survey included respondents from 1,750 businesses and 1,665 households. That was the research done by the Central Bank of Nigeria. Lowering the interest rate could provide relief and economic hardship, relief and amidst the economic hardship that we're really experiencing. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the business Voice of the People Television. We'll be right back. And when we come back, we're addressing what is happening regarding capital inflow. Some of the BRIC nation, what is really coming in from those BRIC nations to this country? That is what we're going to be finding out after the break. We're turning our eyes into the investment landscape. There's an encouraging news as Nigeria sees a remarkable surge in foreign capital inflows from the big BRIC nations. When we talk about the BRIC nations, we're talking about Brazil, we're talking about Russia, India, we're also talking about China and South Africa. Now, foreign capital inflow from BRICS nations surged by 189% in the first half of 2024. South Africa and Saudi Arabia accounted for the largest increase. South Africa and Saudi Arabia accounted for the largest increase. Half of the BRICS countries did not record any inflows into Nigeria. Nigeria is actively pursuing membership in the BRICS group, aiming for inclusion within 2 years. It's an interesting thing if you ask me. We're pursuing membership, meaning that I see no reason. As a matter of fact, I see no reason why trade should happen between Nigeria and Russia, and we're looking for the United States dollar to facilitate that trade. It makes no economic sense. I'm facilitating a transaction between, let's say, Nigeria and Russia, and I need the United States dollars. Or a transaction between Nigeria and Ghana, and I'm looking for the United States dollars. And that's what you're seeing regarding some shift in the global stage. Some nations are beginning to wake up, forming a different caucus, what we call the BRICS nations. The Brazil, Russia, India, Saudi Arabia, China, and South Africa. All these countries have come together to hold the bull by its horn regarding addressing trade amongst themselves. Now, they don't need the United States dollars to facilitate transactions among those countries. And now Nigeria is interested in joining them. Perhaps within the next 2 years, we'll keep you abreast as to how that unfolds on the business. Our membership could enhance trade and investment opportunities for Nigeria. This growth reflects the potential for stronger international economic ties amongst the BRICS nations. Let's move on to what is happening. The dark side, the dark chapter in our fuel subsidy saga has come to light, revealing the extent of exploitation by a lot of smugglers. The petrol smugglers reportedly made 17 million naira per truck due to subsidy loopholes. The removal of subsidy has halted these losses to smuggling. A single truckload sold abroad generated more revenue than in Nigeria. The same truck could yield 500,000 naira if sold domestically, but when sold at the international market, would yield nothing less than 17 million naira. That was what the the MD of NNPC came out and said, Melekiari. He made a bold statement saying that the fuel subsidy was literally feeding a lot of Nigerians, feeding a couple of the rich. Cross-border smuggling was rampant under the subsidy regime. Effective policies are needed to prevent future exploitation and ensure fair practices. But as a matter of fact, this is really hurting a lot of Nigerians. Nigerians are now buying fuel as high as 1,200 naira in some states, in some filling stations. It's easy to say, yes, it's been deregulated. Let the market forces control what happens in that particular sector, in the downstream sector. It's easy to say all that. But if you put that, the price of fuel, at par with our minimum wage, the so-called minimum wage that even some states are struggling to pay, if you put that at par, if you put that at par with the cost of transportation, if you put that at par with the current inflation rate, if you put that at par with the current food inflation rate, what do you have left from your meager earnings, from your meager salaries, especially our compatriots from the private sector? I hope we know that not all private sector stakeholders would be able to pay the 70,000 minimum wage, because they've come out to address it, saying that it's one thing to implement a policy or to put a bill or to pass a bill. It's another thing for the economic climate to help businesses achieve that goal. How many businesses can pay 70,000 naira as their minimum wage? With the current economic climate, businesses are folding up. Purchasing power of Nigerians is depleting by the day. And I've always said it, the economy is a cycle. If the purchasing power is depleting, meaning patronage for businesses drops, the cost of power has also increased. Their bills have increased. There are lots of speculations regarding VAT increasing. The tax basket has been further widened. And so all the policies, none is in the favor of businesses. Macro issues, none is in the favor of businesses. We're a major importing nation. And the price of the current foreign exchange market, current rate, 1,700 naira. And so, as an importing nation, imagine those in the manufacturing sector. They will import components, import some raw materials. After production, the price of those products would increase. Patronage drops. And so low patronage, low inputs on their bottom line. And what do you expect? Low revenue for the companies. Low revenues, low profits. And so we're just in an economic bubble. And everything will bust someday if care is not taken. That's why we always talk about having enabling environment, creating an enabling environment for businesses to thrive. That is it on the business hour. We're going on a quick break, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, we're still going to talk about what is happening in the international front. The World Bank has revised its growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa, shedding light on the challenges some of the challenges we face. When we come back, we're going to be addressing some of these issues. International front, the World Bank has revised its growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa, shedding light on the challenges we face. The World Bank has cut the 2024 growth forecast for sub-Saharan Africa to 3% from 3.4%. The primary reason is the destruction of Sudan's economy due to civil war. The growth is still expected to exceed last year's 2.4% due to private consumption and investment. Armed conflicts and climate events pose serious risks to growth forecasts. Without the conflict in Sudan, regional growth could have been higher. The ongoing economic stability would require addressing these pressing challenges, especially in the global south. And we're seeing that what happened regarding climate change, which is ravaging our farms, especially in Africa, most African regions were affected by floods, and that would definitely it brought about the reduction in economic growth. So let's move on to what is happening regarding food inflation. In homes across Nigeria, it looks like staple food is vanishing from plates as food inflation hits hard. The price of a crate of egg has skyrocketed to 6,000 naira. And just a year ago, it was less than 3,000 naira. And right now, it's now 6,000 naira. 6,000 naira for a crate of egg. Eggs are literally vanishing from the breakfast table of most Nigerians because it's becoming so expensive. So expensive. You buy an average egg roll. What you see in there is maybe a quarter of an egg. Just for people to still remain in business. Because of how expensive it has become. The rising cost of inputs, like maize, to declare a state of emergency on egg production. State of emergency. Tomorrow, we're definitely going to come ahead. We're going to have this conversation. I'm going to bring an agric expert to come explain what is really happening in that sector. Because industry leaders in the sector are calling for a state of emergency on egg production. Because it's becoming so expensive. And not just your egg rolls, not just your fried eggs or your boiled eggs. It's affecting your cake, your pastries, your meat pie, your fish rolls. All your confectionaries. It's affecting all of that. As a matter of fact, it's also affecting the manufacturing sector. The pharmaceutical sector is being affected because some of their ingredients will make use of eggs. And if the price of egg has increased,